Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. 有个记忆。
Yeah.
I punya ada PDF tak? I punya PowerPoint kan? PowerPoint okey.
Who's next? Bring it on. Yeah, last night. Like, I like, in a and but like, it's like, you know, from like China, and then from China, and then
All the conference participants, please come in. We are going to start our session 2 for paper presentation. 各位来宾和需要参与演说的，请进场，谢谢。Timer now. Now I time.
Testing.
你的是之前
Testing.
session 完的是吗？是刚才是这个不是，是哪个？ Session 2的啊
没有，
，PowerPoint，哦 OK，那你也是可以用 PDF 啊，OK 可以，可以，等下这样需要问你有 send 那个 PowerPoint 给 Andrew 是吗？有。等一下。
Hello, testing.
No,
Oh.
only the PDF. Not the PowerPoint.
Oh.
It will cover. No, this is the PDF stuff.
你的是
我是 PowerPoint。
我收到的是 PDF，
那只传了 PDF。
对对对，
我可以把。
可以。
发给你。
你有 pen drive 吗？
Okay.
啊 ，Bluetooth 啊，可以，不要走，我不要用。
Okay.
你开蓝牙。
No, skip dia. Too much. Yeah, bye-bye. Let's go for dinner. After their paper is your paper, right? Study point, exploring factors contributing to the victimization among the elderly. Okay. Yeah. Oh. I thought you just suddenly just read something.
对，你发 email 给我。因為都可以 Y email 啫，你特別會員。Andrew Andrew ฐาน TN at wou.edu.my my okay. wou.edu.my Thanks. 可能是你上给你自己的 WeChat， 在这边网页你的 WeChat， 我就拿去看。你用这个。OK。
Hello, everyone. I think everyone is quite ready here, so we should get started. Um, before the start of her paper, I think I'd like to just say a few words. Again, I'm honored to welcome you to this session of the International Conference on Digital Application and Management Innovation. So, my name is Dr. Rachel, and I have the pleasure to moderate this session, which consists of 7 distinguished presenters. We have an incredible lineup today, bringing together diverse perspectives and cutting edge research in the field. Here's a quick overview of how our session will unfold. Each presenter will have 10 minutes for the presentation and a brief 5 minutes of Q&A session. Without further ado, let's dive into this session of the conference. Paper ID 15 by Zhang Kexin for the paper entitled The Understanding of the Smart Classroom's Needs on Daylight and its Controllability in Asian Higher Education Institutes. Welcome, Ms. Zhang. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for the delay. I'm Kexin Jiang, and I'm the representative of our team to give this presentation. So, firstly, it is my honor to talk here, attend in this conference. And before the formal presentation, I would like to describe a kind of moment. In any days, when you entered lecture rooms in university, have you ever had some troubles when you look at the screens, like the visual comfort will be influenced, or can you see the screen clearly? However, you could do the only thing is to change another seat. So, but why? So this is our motivation for this research project. So firstly, to do some introduction. A significant factor that helps people's daily visual activity is light. And there are 2 types of light. One is artificial light, different type of light tools to assist activities. And another one is daylight. It is the direct and indirect electromagnetic radiation from the sun. According to different types of studies, daylight's benefits have been emphasized, including improved visual comfort, promote vitamin D promotion, and also improve mental wellness. And designers and architects start to move their focus to invent cutting-edge classroom lighting systems. In the meantime, smart classroom has been invented in different Asian higher education institution with advanced technology. They're always equipped with overhead projectors, interactive whiteboards, and also other techniques. However, one question has been raveled. Is it the great combination between daylight and smart classrooms? So then we start our literature review. We found something really interesting, that the traditional design principles for the lighting system in classroom may not be suitable for smart classroom. So why? Firstly, lighting in educational space is always a key point in this field. People pay more attention to the lighting systems. Various lighting intensities were necessary for multiple activities, and the lighting system generally have different levels of control. For example, in this room, there are different level controls of the lighting system. However, due to the traditional layout of classrooms, students are less flexible in controlling the light. Therefore, the educational rooms need a careful design of light. So we look into different studies in the field. We find that researchers always emphasize the daylight's importance to students, including students' productivity is significantly correlated with daylight, and the sleeping hours will be improved by the daylight. However, on the another side, we find that innovative technology may not that kind of like daylight, including a dark atmosphere is needed for the space to support the visual activities. And also internal and external shadings are required for classrooms to shade the daylight. And also different types of lighting systems should be designed for different classrooms to support various activities. So why? Then we start to look at into different standards from China, European countries, and also international standards. We found that in different classrooms, they have different levels requirements, including, for example, art classroom, lecture hall, and also the regular classrooms. However, the one things have been found. They are all for general classroom, not the smart classrooms, which we also find some related research. We found three of them. One is in European. They find there's a correlation between daylight and students' performance. And another one in Iran, we find that students have positive opinions for non-daily areas. What that means, they prefer no daylight. And also in research 3, in China, the daylight shows a negative influence on secondary students during classes, which is totally opposite with our original thinking about daylight to students. So we make a causal loop diagram. According to the causal loop diagrams, we showed both negative causal loop and positive causal loop. It is obvious that between the same variables, we find the totally opposite causal loops between them. It is a conflict, but why? So this is our aims and objectives of our research. We aim to find the correlation between light preference by students and the existence and controllability of daylight in smart classrooms in Asian universities. So based on these aims and objectives, we start to do our research. We make two new hypotheses to support the following data analysis. And we also find two smart classrooms. Thanks for Minjiang University's cooperation, we find two smart classrooms in Minjiang University, and one with daylight and one without daylight to do the comparative analysis. Then for the research and materials, we set two parts, data collection and data analysis. For data collection, design builder have been used to find out the daylight illumination at the time in the smart classroom. And two types of data collection have been used. One is on-site questionnaire with the experimental study, and one is online open survey. So for the on-site questionnaires, two smart classrooms will be held for the same 45 minutes classes. After that, 140 students will need to answer the questionnaires to give our answers about their perspectives to the daylight. And then online open survey is used to gather wider and broader opinions for students. So 271 pieces of works have been collected. After that, data analysis and explanation have been done. So t-test method and correlation analysis have been used to analyze data, and it also we translate and summarize the opinions to support or to argue what we found. So then let's move to our results. Something really interesting happened. The first thing is that based on the simulation methods, this is the plan of two smart classrooms, and this is the simulation results based on the software. We find that the daylight is really uneven distribution. One side of the classrooms enjoy a large number of daylight through the class, and the values already exceed the useful daylight standard, which may also influence the following results from questionnaires. And then, based on data research, we find that the new hypothesis 1 is accepted, and there is no correlation between the light preference by students with the presence of daylight. However, based on their comments, we find that in the classroom 2 with daylight, people think daylight is not beneficial. They do not want daylight. But in classroom 1, we saw daylight. None of them mentioned the need for natural light, and they offer opinions on controls of artificial light system and their illuminance levels. And also, the interesting thing is that the new hypothesis 2 is rejected. there is a strong positive correlation between the light quality and the controllability of daylight in smart classrooms. So based on their comments, students prefer to have ability to control daylight in the rooms. And 68 students said they have no access to control the daylight by windows, curtains, and even shadings. And 27 students are not sure if they can control the natural lights. So this is a problem. Like most of students cannot control the lights, which will influence their visual comfort throughout the year. And then based on the online questionnaire, we find that more than 76% of respondents said they think daylight will influence their studies. And also only around 40% students think they have the controllability of natural light in smart classrooms, which is a problem. And we pick out some key words from the questionnaires, including the annoyance of natural light regulation, daylight's impacts on screen displays, and also ISO reflections. This is a thing what happened in nowadays in the general universities, that students have visual uncomfortable during the class. So what should we do? The discussion parts is that first, from our research, we found that students think daylight disturbs the screen presentation, and the reflection of daylight to the wide screen blurs the contents on the screen. And we also do the same research on the current studies. We found that some of the researchers have the similar findings, including that people also find that due to the high reflection index of the screen surface, most of daylight will be reflected to viewers. And also it will cause discomfort and eye disease. And also for the controllability, students want to have controllability to the daylight in the classroom, and the manual control is not convenient, which is also shown in different studies in the international fields. They find that blinds and automatic outdoor shadings should be used for smart classrooms, and it will reduce discomfort and eye disease. And also there's a request for upgrading artificial lighting system and daylight management systems. So based on all this research, we give some suggestions. The first thing is that effective shadings should be equipped for smart classrooms, including outdoor solar shadings, blinds, and automatic curtain control systems. And also the daylight should be covered by curtains or shadings during the screen presentation, especially in the afternoon or in high illuminance during the day. And students and teaching staff should be informed of daylight control strategies. But we have our limitations. So firstly, we pick out the participants from the volunteers, which will cause survival bias. And also we only consider the lighting levels, but we forget the solar radiation will bring the hotter indoor air temperature, which will also influence people's mental health and people's perspective to the classroom's quality. So this will be considered in the future research. And the third thing is that light does not only have the visual function, which we considered in this research, but also non-visual function, including medical aspects, promote vitamin D production, which will need to be considered together in the future. So in conclusion, universities should incorporate smart shadings into smart classroom. Daylight can be shaded in smart classrooms during the high illuminated daytime. This research directly supports Sustainable Development Goal 3, good health and well-being, by improving the well-being of students and education through enhanced lighting in educational space. So thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I also attached my email address. If you want additional information, please contact me. Thanks.
Thank you, Kersin, for the very interesting presentation about daylight, and also how it is applied in smart classrooms. So now I open to the members of the floor. If you have any questions, you may proceed to ask some questions to our presenter. Yes, Dr. Lee.
Yeah. It's a cross-sectional, not long. Yeah. Yeah, it is really great points. Firstly, it is important to have a longitude because the time period is will be an important variable for the research, especially in this one, because from the morning to the evening, the perspective might be different. Also throughout the year, from the winter to summer, especially in summer, people may have different perspective to the daylight. So, but we considered about the cost and we try to find some gap between them. So it is our first step. But in the following step, we will continue to look at into different periods and to find out the results and to compare to see if the time and the seasons will be another variables in this research.
Do we still have any more questions? Maybe we have one more. Yes.
Especially you mentioned the suggestions in the final part, and my point is how what can you do to support to make the schools to support your suggestions in the future?
Yeah, cause in my in my side, because I'm an engineer and also an architect, the building is designed for human. So the throughout the days, not the design part is the end of the architecture, but also the operation part. So operation part is a significant stage for both users and also designers to cooperate to use this space. So for that one, the suggestions for students and staff, it is necessary to let them know what kind of technologies or the equipment for the rooms can be used for them throughout the year because they are the users. And architects and engineers have the responsibility to do that, to inform their users what they can do throughout the year. And they can keep checking if they did that correctly throughout the year to maybe change something or to improve something. It is a really important thing for in my perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we still have maybe one more? No more. Okay. So thank you very much, Kasin, for your
Thanks.
presentation. Your innovative ideas is truly commendable. We appreciate that. And now we can move on to the next paper. Cybercrime exploring factors contributing to victimization among the elderly in Malaysia, presented by Dr. Jaya, Dr. Lau, and also Dr. Prema Latha Karupia. Thank you.
I close this. Okay, should be okay, right? Hi everyone, good afternoon. I always thought that my voice is loud enough to reach everyone. Can you hear? Or I need to use the mic. Dr. Lau. Okay, is this better? Right, thank you. Again, good afternoon or good evening. My topic today is cybercrime, exploring factors contributing to victimization among the elderly in Malaysia. Now, cybersecurity has always been a passion. So the reason I chose this in Malaysia, right? Let me go to my next slide. Cybercrime has surpassed drug trafficking. That means this is becoming a very good business, very good money for the criminals. how to find money, right, for them. And this is from PDRM. PDRM is Police Diraja Malaysia. And they actually said that 70% of commercial crime these days in Malaysia can be categorized as cybercrime cases. Now, lots of cases affects everybody, from the young adults to our senior citizens. And internet-based victimization of senior citizens is becoming more apparent in Malaysia. Now, a lot of case studies, a lot of research has been done on young adults or adults, okay? But not much focus has been given on senior citizens. And these are the most vulnerable group that we have at this moment, okay? Now, cybercrime is defined as any criminal activity in which a computer or networked device is targeted or used to commit a crime. Okay. Okay, senior citizens, these are the news headings that we actually hear. Okay, senior citizens lose over 227,000 in credit card scam. Or we have a number of cybercrime cases reported in Malaysia from 2021 to 2022, totals up to 31,000. Okay, this is quite a big number. And among these numbers, some of them are not reported. I've been doing a qualitative research study, and the reason when I go to senior citizens, most of them do not want to talk to me. So I'm doing interviews with them. They don't want to. And the question is why? Because I'm ashamed of what happened. I don't want anyone else to know about this. So there are some of the crimes that's not being reported. Okay, so yeah, that's happening here. So the problem statement for my research paper is this exploitation from scams, particularly cybercrime, is costing our nation's elders money. Now, I always say this, right? When we talk about elderlies, this is their savings, this is after their retirement, and this is the time they are supposed to be enjoying, relaxing with whatever money they have saved, but these are the money that is being gone, scammed. Now, there's a notable lack of attention given to the unique challenge faced by the elderly, because with younger generation, what we can tell them is, well, you can read the papers, you can read this, we have lots of information given to you. You need to be aware. But what about the approach that is given to the elderly? Okay. And this research aimed to investigate the underlying factors that contribute to the vulnerability of elderly individuals to cybercrime, and to explore the perceptions of cybercrime victimization among the elderly population. Like I said, the first part, when I'm exploring this, I don't want to talk to you, Jaya. I'm too ashamed to talk about this. I don't want my family to know that I lost my money. So these are the statements that I actually get from them. Now, I'm not sure if anyone of you have watched the latest, very new movie, The Beekeeper. Okay, if you get a chance, please watch this movie, The Beekeeper. Just came out 2 weeks ago. This is actually talking about how an elderly person, a retired person, loses over $1 million in one click, and how this scam actually happens. This is in US, and it's normal. It's happening here as well. The calls that we receive, at least in Malaysia, right? We actually receive calls, and they say, if you have this, please click this number, click this, click that. It's a button. So it's not something that it might happen. It is happening. Okay, my research has 3 research questions. What types of cybercrime do elderly in Malaysia fall victim to? There are many. Okay, so what type? What are the critical factors that make the elderly vulnerable to cybercrime? Okay, and what are the consequences of cybercrime on the elderly, both in terms of financial loss and emotional well-being? Now, saying that, PDRM, again, the police, Malaysian police, actually has narrowed down computer crime cases in Malaysia. This consists of user-generated contacts. We saw just now, right, how AI, you can use it and then mimic other person. Yes. So what they do is they make a phone call and pretend with your video call like your face there, and say, okay, I am losing money. Can you just quickly bank in things for me? So they do that. They have malware, spoofing, high yield investment program. They promise people, this is you invest here, give me 100, tomorrow I give you another 200, and therefore they make people do that. E-commerce fraud, pornography, and online gambling. Okay, my research is interview, and I'm doing qualitative research. What I do is snowball sampling. I go from one person, from there I go to the next person, and so on. And I'm looking at a sample size of from 5 to 20. So far, I managed to get 5, and talking to them has been very eye-opening. And my participant pool includes diverse range of people: elderlies, above 60 years old, Malaysians. Okay. And as you can see, Malaysians, we have the Malays and the Chinese and the Indians. So I'm basing on all ethnic backgrounds as well. So this is my preliminary result. Victims of phone scam. Most of them are victims of phone scam. They get a phone call. They're still drowsy. They're sleeping. They do not know what's happening. And they keep saying, give me a PIN code. It's just somebody is taking money out from you. Just do that. Lack of exposure on scam calls. They have heard about it, but they have now experienced, so they do not know what is happening. So suddenly you get a call, they actually think that's true. Okay. Lack of knowledge on cybersecurity. They do not know what to do and what not to do. Okay. And emotionally affected. All of them are emotionally affected. Depression, sense of guilt, remorse, and self-blaming. The answers they get is that I should have been more aware. I should have known better, and then I've lost all my savings. This is really, really sad when you hear people say, I lost all my savings and I don't know where to go from here. Okay. And obviously financially affected. There's most of those who have been affected are school teachers, single ladies in Malaysia. All they want is some kind of affection, and those are one of the type of scams that is happening as well. Okay, with that, thank you. So open for questions. No questions is good. So that we can move on to the next presenter. Dr. Anba, yes.
Yeah, this is a good study. Maybe you could collaborate with some of our colleagues from China. How is the cybercrime in their country?
I'm focusing on Malaysia first, Dr. Anba, because I'm quite sure in China as well they will have things. So that will be my next study with collaborating with other countries. Thank you.
Maybe some of you can share. Is there a cybercrime in China?
There's somebody there at the back. So what kind of crimes do you have over there?
I think it's quite common among every population in China, not only the elder people, but also the young people and also the.
Yes, definitely the young people. The young people are motivated by greed. That's what I noticed. Young are motivated by greed. The elder is not motivated by anything. It's ignorance. That is why they fall as victim there.
Yeah. Like it's quite,
gambling is one of the biggest thing that's happening in Malaysia. Online gambling is always like, you just put in 100, the next day, within an hour, you'll see 200. And they actually fall into that. And the amount gets bigger and bigger to the part that they go about 100,000 and they say, disappeared. So it's kind of sad and scary to be here.
I just want to ask a quick question
Sure.
about the questionnaire part, because it's a quite sensitive questions, right?
Pardon?
It's quite sensitive.
It is very sensitive.
Yeah.
And the reluctance is for most of the people. I know quite a number, but just they don't want me to interview them to record.
Yeah.
They say, I'll just tell you the story. It's like, I need evidence if I'm doing this kind of thing. And the feeling ashamed. And some of them, the elderly ones, right, they don't want to relive that again. And I keep telling them, but I don't write your name. Nobody is going to know it's you. It's like, it's a tough thing. But it's a very interesting thing to look into.
Thank you.
And another thing, in Malaysia, our banks, we actually have an insurance, PIDM. A lot of elderlies do not know that if you have been scammed, you can just go and claim for the insurance. That's the government. So these are the things that, for me, as an educator or whatever, needs to be told to lots of people. So that's why I chose this particular topic to do. It's quite an interesting one. All right. Thank you. I'm telling thank you, so no more questions.
Wow. Interesting presentation.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm trying. We don't encourage, okay?
Okay, so next, from cybercrime, let's switch our mindset to a new thing, which is virtual land surveying. Next paper I'm presenting to you, Learning Effectiveness of Virtual Land Surveying for Blended Open Distance Learning by Mr. Muhammad Noor Hadri. Hadri, off to you.
Thank you, Dr. Rachel. So good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, great. So at this moment, I think we will delve a bit deeper on the virtual simulations. So to start with, I would believe that virtual simulation is already been there in educations and it will be enhancing and giving a positive impact, especially on the student learning experience, right? So it's still a few new moments for, especially for quantity surveying courses. So as you know that construction students, they need to experience the physical field. So they need to go to the fields and then do the measurements of the demographics of the land and so on, right? So they need to carry this kind of physical equipment when they need to do the learning, right? So what we try to do is actually to introduce virtual simulations to construction students, because this is something that still lack in their field right now. So other than that, basically, we are actually try to move a bit forwards, because as you know that virtual simulation normally is an offline virtual simulation. So the things, what happened is that I think everyone know that during the COVID-19 pandemic, it really impact the students, and it also impact our WOU students in real life. So our construction management students totally rely on the site visit in order for them to improve their learnings. Other than that, all of the assessments, learning occurs in the lab or in the class sessions. So we really look into certain institutions and see how they enroll the learning exercise, especially if you look at the demographic of the Europe case and Asia. So we notice that they are using the virtual simulator in order to enhance their learning experience. But things that we face is that because the project start in 2019, the end of 2019, and you all know that the pandemic is coming on 2020, right? So we noticed that the virtual simulation is offline. What does it mean is that we need to install this simulation in the lab so that student can use it. And it turned out that pandemic happens, and we need to really move from our objective to enroll or to execute virtual simulation in a lab class to really quickly develop a features that can be used in online learning. So the methodology that we have is that we study our current system implementation for students. So as usual, we have virtual simulations in lab. But the things that has been lagging is that during the COVID-19 pandemic, students are quarantined at homes and people are not allowed to even go to the office and whatnot, right? So it makes sense at that moment actually to really focus on developing the features in order to innovate this simulator, so that just having the offline simulation, we can have some kind of online simulations that can help students during that pandemic times. So the contributions that I would like to explain today is actually focusing on the cloud-based. So the idea is very simple. You have a simulator. So what we are thinking at that time is that we want to have a recording feature so that it can record student activities. So assuming that students are doing the assessment or the lab session, so what they need to do is open the simulator and then run accordingly to the exercise or accordingly to the assignment that's been given. So what the simulator will do is record the session so that we know visually how students do it. And then because this is a surveyor simulator, so we can know in terms of the demographic how the student performs. Because this is very important when we want to measure how student behavior is when they use the equipment. So this is just an example of how we run this. So if you look at on the right side, right, we have on your left side, on your right side. So it starts with when students run the simulator on their machines. So once they have done that, it will be auto recording of the sessions and also all the details of how students are using the simulator. After that, the playback will be pushed to the cloud so that whatever assessments that we can be done through the offline back. So basically the tutor or the lecturers can just go back to the recording videos and then have a look onto it and then do the marking as usual. And then after that, we actually move forward. Instead of recording the sessions, we also introduce one of the features is that the assessment can be done straight away on the simulator. So it's much more easier to do a proper grading and then to start with the assessment. The first idea of this simulation is actually just a game. For your information, the SNA library is actually a library from the Microsoft. So it's been used to develop games in Xbox. So we just reuse it back and then try to suits the subject. So we actually enrolled this to some of our WOU regional center. So we have some one from the Sarawak, Johor Bahru Center, and Ipoh, and also Penang. So our students are quite demographically dispersed. So that's one of the challenges that we need to address. So this is some of the sample size of our population for the survey. So around 100 kind of numbers. So the sample is very different because some of our students are already experienced engineer, and then some of them are quite new into the field. So based on that experience, we look at the pre and post survey because of course, eventually when you launch this, everyone will like it because it suits the environment, but we also need to have a look what will be the result after the COVID. Does they like it or they need more features that can help them to with their studies? You look at the student rating and instructor ratings, the student can pick up and use the features. And also we want to have a look that if the instructor itself can self pick up, be independent, and then try to use the features. So based on the finding, between before and after COVID is quite significant. So we think that is good for that moment. That moment referred to 2022. Okay. We are looking in terms of the learning interest in the survey. Does it improve their learning experience? So if you look at this, it's really convincing because it suits the environment at that time because we are still in the COVID pandemic, right? So it makes sense onto that. If you look at the student rating and instructors also, is quite okay. We accept it. But of course, when you done this, students are normally requesting more features. And and if you look at 2022, 2023, there is a trend that work from home, right? We also do a hybrid learning where students are prefer to be anywhere instead of sitting in a class, right? But it's okay. But I think for these executions that we have, usually the discourse is being taken by second year students. So we allowed that to happen, and because based on this result, it's still convincing. Even last year result, we are still compiling right now in order to see does we need to improve the simulator in order to give them a better learning experience. So basically, we do one round of training to students and instructors during 2021. But of course, it happened that we need to have quite an hustle because we need to go to the police station to request for the forms, and then every student and instructors need to fill out the form, go to each of the police stations in order to go to their regional centers in order to learn how to use the software. And it is very crucial at that time. And of course, police also think like, hey, cannot hold. I mean, is it really urgent to do this, right? But we say to the police that it's quite urgent because we don't want to delay. Usually, if you look at the globally, people tend to delay because of the few challenges during the pandemic. But we decided that we cannot delay this, and we need to proceed with with our projects. So in overall, statistically, right now it's showing some significant results, but we are compiling last year result in order to see either we should proceed again with this project in order to give a positive impact in the construction management students. So there's a few pictures of the instructors, students coming from different regional center. On the right side is from the Penang regional centers. This one is from KL, and then this one is from Kuching. So by that slide, I end my presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hadri. I like how you basically try to inculcate virtual land surveying with course that we normally think that it cannot be run without without practical and things like that.
Correct. But if you look at their opinion, right? 2019, they are very strong on very emphasized more on the physical learning. Because that's the nature of the subject itself. Because otherwise it will be a learning curve for them to think about the virtual. But I think the contribution for this project is not much. I would believe that it just complement the current student learning experience and activities. But at least if we have the second pandemic or whatever pandemic, I think as a human, we will try to think creatively in order to get out from that problems. So this is just a showcase on how you should try your best to improve the student learning. Yeah.
Yes. So any questions from our participants over here? Yes, Kasin, I think you have something. Yeah.
Sorry, it's not a question. Because it's really useful for especially architecture students and also engineer students, in my perspective. During pandemic period, it's terrible if we cannot visit the site. It will influence everything. So I would like to ask if we can have further conversation after this to look for some cooperation, especially in this part, because it's quite...
Basically, the original software is coming from University of Hong Kong. So it happened that one of our colleagues is in collaborations with their parts. So it happened 2019, actually, like I said, which is before the COVID. So we have this kind of thinking that we should incorporate this simulator to be online based so that people can use features, upload videos. I think it just happened that COVID-19 is a perfect time for us to really push this into a reality.
Also for international projects, it is really important. Thanks.
Thank you.
Interesting. So that's how a conference should be, right? Both of you can get connected, from so far and through research, right? So that is, I think, the main aim of what we want to have from today. Next we still have many more interesting papers, and I would like to welcome the next presenter. And we have paper ID number 36, which is from Mr. Dr. Ui Lishan and Dr. Juliana Othman on the paper entitled The Effects of Open Distance Education on the Professional Development of In-Service ESL Teachers. Thank you very much, Doctor. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean, and I will be presenting on the effects of open distance education on professional development of in-service ESL teachers. So the paper will have will go through about 6 areas. On the first, about background, conceptual framework, the literature review, methodology, findings and discussion, as well as conclusion. So, a bit of background, the Malaysian government addresses the issues of non-graduate and untrained in-service ESL teachers by offering ESL teacher education programs through ODL. So this is one of the ways that we have a lot of teachers in the government or in outside institutions, especially English teachers who are not trained English teachers, but maybe they have a degree in economics, or they have a degree in arts, and they've been asked to teach English. So a form of a blended approach. So by using ODL as a way of addressing this issue, one of the ways that the teachers who are working, but they are working, but they also need to be trained. So a compromise was by introducing ODL form of method of delivery that allows these teachers to work and study at the same time. So combining a face-to-face online learning and delivery, this is a way of allowing teachers to work and get their qualification at the same time. So it is cost-effective as well as advantageous as they get to work and maintain their careers. So this aligns with Sustainable Goal number 4 on quality education, which promotes quality education and lifelong learning. So a bit of a conceptual framework, it goes according to Gatsky's model on the 5 level of information gathering. And the research goes from level 1 to level 4. It's hard to get to level 5 to assess learning outcomes. So literature background, ODL allows flexibility, availability of content at low cost, and the ability to study at home, which allows students to study on their own and provide easy access to education for continuous professional development. Now, ODL-based training programs, the benefits of it allows, number one, bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical application. So a lot of these teachers have the ability to teach. They know how to teach, but they don't know how to, in the theoretical background behind the teaching. They've seen other people teach, they just copy it. But why are you doing what you're doing? They have no idea. Facilitate a more tailored approach to learning, which can directly impact the classroom instruction. So by teaching them or by giving them the ability to get the theoretical knowledge, it actually helps them to tailor their approach and change their approach to learning as well as to teaching. As well as the third one is to integrate online technology too. So from ODL, because it's delivered online, so the students learn how to use it online. They experience online learning. So when they go back to their classroom, especially during the COVID-19, a lot of our teachers had no issues. Those who've gone through ODL had no issues teaching online because they've been learning online. They know what the students felt like. So as teachers, they already know how it's to be at that position. So they've been using it to help their students learn. So the focus of this research has the two, to address the existing gaps in literature by examining the experiences of in-service teachers in the Malaysian context, as well as to investigate the extent of which ODL affects the professional development of these teachers. So the central research question guiding is how do Malaysian in-service ESL teachers perceive the impact of ODL on their teacher professional development? So this research looks at a qualitative interpretive research approach on a case study approach, because it's a short and small one. And according to literature, you don't need a lot if you're going in depth. So there are only four. I only approached 4 teachers, ESL teachers, and we had 60 to 90 minutes sit down with the teachers, asking them all the semi-constructed questions, and they're recorded and transcribed, and thematic analysis is used. There are 4 of them. These teachers are TESOL undergraduates, so they are teaching English in their school, but they are also at the same time undergoing the TESOL education program. So because the lecturer as well as the researcher as well as the students have prior relationships, so it's easy to get information from them. And pseudonyms were assigned. So these were the 4 people. As you can see, they are mostly in international and private schools, and they have studied for between 3 to 6 years in the ODL system, but their teaching experience range between 5 to 23 years. So some findings for all of the interview with them, there are 4 main themes that we gleaned. The first one was managing work-life study demands. ODL allowed them to balance between their work, their life, as well as a family life, as well as their studies. It managed to bridge theory and practice and apply knowledge to practice and learning from experts. So the first theme on managing work-life balance, as you can see, the participants explained, it allowed them to work. They allowed them to study. They don't have to travel all the way to university. It's done online, so they just click of a button on the link, they get class. They allowed them to save time as well. They don't have to travel to university like a conventional university. So the traveling time, especially if you're in KL, the 1 hour of traffic jam, even in Penang, if you're traveling from Bayan Lepas all the way up to Northern Road. So that travel time saved is also something that they're happy with. It also help them to teach their children as well as what they have learned on themselves, on the students, can be also applied to their children. And it is also something that the government has been asking. They need to get qualified. Another one is bridging theory to practice. Finally, there's something that they can understand. They understand why they are doing what they're doing. So previously, they've been imitating their colleagues after observation, or from their friends or their colleagues. So that helps them find this ODL approach of learning allows them to understand the theoretical theories behind it. It also allows them to apply knowledge to practice. So what they have learned in class from their ODL class, they can straight away apply into their classroom because they themselves are teachers. So what they have seen, they can correct immediately. Saturday, Sunday, they go to class. Monday, they can start applying to their classroom already. And lastly, learning from experts. They're all very happy that they're finally learning from someone who is an authority of the field of education, who understands what is happening, because the lecturers that are from the ODL institution are actually teachers themselves who are qualified. So they're getting direct, reliable sources. So the implication of this study is, although ODL offers flexibility, it actually also has stress levels as well. Like I said, the managing between work life and family life, as well as their studies. So that is actually stressful. Simultaneous learning application actually enhances. So what they have learned, it bridges their theory and practice, but it also allows them to apply into their practice. And the ODL institutions of higher learning should provide some essential resources or support like scholarships or technological assistance and access to mental health resources like counseling to cope with their academic endeavors. So conclusion, ODL holds great potential in enhancing teachers' pedagogical competence for teachers' professional development. It is actually positive, but it requires support from all sectors, especially policymakers as well as education providers. And last but not least, TPD via ODL is actually beneficial and should be continued and is essential to sustain SGD4 and teacher professional development. And with that, I conclude. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Dr. Uy. And just some interesting facts here, and I could link how his research is relevant because, based on what I'm reading here, Malaysia is the third country, the highest number of English speaking proficiency in Asia. Yeah, so I would say that the teachers are doing a very good job, in educating so many students out there who are really proficient, and this is based on the 2013 EF, is the Education First English Proficiency Index. So I think that's a very remarkable result and extremely good job done by the ESL teachers. Well, let's give an applause. Yeah, so I think we could share more information. If you like, you can talk to our very capable Dr. Sean over here, very good in English. So yeah, let's welcome some questions from members of the floor. Anyone who would like to ask some questions? Kasing, you have something to ask? You look like you have something. Let me just ask.
It's okay.
Yeah,
If you don't have questions.
it's an open discussion.
It's
Yeah.
okay if you don't have questions.
I think she has something to ask. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I'm not from the education background, but I totally understand the effects of open distance education. Because of the COVID, everything changed, especially the education fields. So I just want to ask something about students' perspective to like open distance or long distance education. Is there anything changed after COVID?
Actually, one of the things that they were very happy with COVID for our ODL students was actually they had no issues because they've been studying ODL all this while. So going online, teaching online, they have been the other end. They were students online, learning online. So when it was transitioned to online learning, a lot of our students who are teachers had no issues conducting classes via Zoom because they've been learning their classes via Zoom. They've been learning via Skype and teleconferencing. So preparing slides comes second nature to them. Using quiz also comes second nature to them because they've seen their lecturers do it as well for them. They've been using Kahoot, they've been using Jamboard and all that because some of their classes, if there are only one or two of them, they're joined together online. So they've seen how online learning at the end as a student. So from their experience from their students, they improve on it. So a lot of our students who are teachers had no issues converting online.
Oh, that's totally different
Yeah.
from in UK, people hate long distance education, especially after COVID, everything changed because
Yeah.
they prefer experimental study. So if it's online, it will become like virtual study. So it's different.
There's no doubt a lot of the teachers also say that it's very tiring. Online learning is very tiring, which is it zaps energy out of you because you can in class you can get reactions from everybody and that feeds off energy. But online is everybody's on the screen, and if the students most of the time will be off screen and you'll see all black, and then feel like you're talking to yourself. But one of the things that because they've learned online, they set all these rules in advance. So the students know what's happening and what to expect from the classes with these teachers. So so far we had no complaints from our students. Of course, they did say that it's tiring. Online learning is tiring, but how to improve they know because they've experienced it. They're at the end of it. So now they've been both ends. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So maybe I would like to just to add a little bit here. Dr. Sean, have a question for you. As we know English, there are like 4 important sections like listening, reading, writing. So which component is the most difficult to teach online?
Every component has its challenges.
Okay.
Because it is what do you call that? There are different parts of learning. Okay, because you can't learn an English skill by itself. It always comes together. 4 skills are always interacted together. Of course, the easiest to assess will be writing.
Writing.
Okay, the easiest to assess. but it is not easy to teach how to speak or teach how to
Pronunciation.
listen. Pronunciation, there are so many apps right now, Duolingo, or YouTube, you can even learn it on YouTube. So, and there's so many accents as available as well, free of charge. And there's so many apps that are given that you can learn up from. But to teach a skill, that different skill has its challenges.
All right, interesting. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Oh, is there
You have a
another
question?
question? Okay.
I have a little question
Yeah.
for those teachers who may insist the traditional way of teaching. Do you think with the spread of open distance education in Malaysia, it will be a shock to them?
Can you repeat the first part of your question?
For those teachers who may insist their traditional way of teaching, do you think with the spread of the open distance education in Malaysia, it will be a shock to them?
Initially, yes, especially during COVID. But because of COVID, everybody was forced online. So from there, they've actually seen it, they've experienced it. Of course, the most senior teachers are still resistant. They are still to this day very determined and still says that you can't learn, you can't teach online. But COVID, for 3 years, they have been forced to teach online. So they now can see the benefits. But like I said, there are still certain things that you can't simulate online. So therefore, that's why in the end, nobody moved everything online. We still had to bring all our students to class because you can't simulate classroom work together. That physical social interactions, you can't simulate that online. And it is that human touch, that is something that you can't do online. So especially for younger children, especially the kindergarten all the way to even high school, because we humans are social beings. We are not meant to be cooped up in a small little room. So we have to, so some parts, because of this social aspect, this soft skills aspect, I have to agree, and of course the teachers, a lot of majority teachers also agree that part we can't. Online learning lacks that part, that human touch part. Of course, we've tried to use all sorts of simulation programs to make up for it, but I think we still lack that human touch is still important.
Yeah, I like your answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So yeah, let's keep the momentum going and more questions coming out from our participants. But anyway, we have to move on to the next paper. The influence of technology integration on teacher self-efficacy by Dr. Siti Fairoz, Dr. Nazira, and Dr. Aratai Din Iyak. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Hi all. Okay. Okay. Let's move to different context, which is early childhood education. Okay. Today I would like to present my research on the influence of technology integration on teacher self-efficacy, the perspective on challenges as mediator. Okay. For this research, we are focusing on preschool teachers. Right. Okay. So for my research, which is more emphasized on the preschool teachers, or kindergarten teachers, private kindergarten teachers, and basically integrations of technology in a classroom is quite, it's not really easy for teachers to integrate technology in a kindergarten classroom, where we need a lot of, skills in terms of capturing the children's attentions and in terms of preparing the materials and also in terms of the content as well. All right, so technology in early childhood classroom basically is where the teachers, we is a transition from a conventional preschool classroom to an instructional technological base. It means that the teacher is prepared to use a technology as a part of a teaching tools. Okay, then in terms of the Malaysian education blueprint, we are really emphasizing on this technology base. It means that one of the ways where our governments emphasize is we need to include technology in our lesson plan, where we are preparing the content or preparing our lesson. We need to include technology as a part of our learning materials. Okay, so for this research, we are more focusing on the teacher self-efficacy. Okay, how this integration will impact the teachers in terms of how do they integrate or utilize the technology in the teaching practices. Okay, next, for this research, we are focusing on two objectives, which is the influence between the integration of technology, the challenges, and the teacher self-efficacy. Second, we actually identify the roles of the challenges that act as a mediator. Okay, basically, this research is more emphasized on SDG 4, which is we really need technology as a part of as a part of instructional practices for a teacher, especially a preschool teacher, to integrate in their lesson. Okay, so that it will be more interactive, it will be more in terms of fun for the kids to learn. Okay, this is the the concepts of my research, which is we are focusing on the technology integration. We include two dimensions, which is teaching preparation and materials preparation. Teaching preparation in terms of how do these teachers they prepare in terms of their content, in terms of their lesson plan, okay, to really to make sure that the kids really enjoy in their classroom. Second, in terms of the materials preparation. Materials preparations is in terms of their in terms of their teaching materials and how do they use technological as a part of their teaching materials preparation. And by the way, we're still facing challenges where it's quite challenging for the teacher to prepare in terms of the materials, in terms of the teaching, the process, because we are more focusing on the kids, which is kindergarten kids, which is 4 to 6 years old, or even 5 to 6 years old. Okay, so there is by the way, okay, I'm using Smart PLS, okay, to run an analysis for this research, and the result shows that there is a significant influence of technology on the teacher's self-efficacy. It means that we really need a teacher that integrate technology as a part of their teaching materials or teaching tools. And the challenges mediate the impact between the integration of technology and teacher self-efficacy. It shows that challenges, most of the teachers agree that we have a lot of challenges, okay, especially when we teach kids, okay, using what is that? For example, if let's say we are going to teach about maybe something that related with songs or alphabet, right? We can actually use YouTube or iPad as a materials or as a teaching tools. Okay, but we still need to supervise, or we need to monitor the children on how they are able to use the the materials or the iPad and so on. Okay, so in terms of the implication, okay, this research is very, as a teacher, they review that it takes times for them to prepare materials, but at the same time, okay, it enhances the learning experience, especially when they are preparing the materials, the content, and how the technique, especially the instructional technique, how do they conduct the, their lesson by using these different types of technological tools. Okay, then it promotes lifelong learning opportunities. Yes, for sure, because when we are, focusing on the kids, we really need a lot of efforts, especially, preparing the materials. It's not easy, and we, especially in terms of instruction, it's not easy to guide a kids, but we really need a patient in terms of that. And enhancing the teacher self-efficacy, to make sure that we have a better quality of education for the students, especially for the children. And it parallel with our SDG, okay, where we are more focusing on the quality of education. Okay, so in conclusion, okay, the integration of technology is very important, especially in the preschool classroom, where we really need to, we really need to identify what, how, and when we are going to use the technology in the classroom. Then it's also provide an interactive platform for the teachers and also children to actively engage in the learning process, because it will be one of the way how do the kids and also the teacher will participate and engage in a interactive classroom. Okay, thank you.
We have also heard from so many topics today, but I believe that this one is a little bit more relevant to all of us. I think if you have children, then yeah, or maybe your friends have children, yeah, then it's quite relevant. So if we talk about self-efficacy, I believe that looking at teacher self-efficacy is very important for preschool teachers, because they are the ones that nurture all these young kids who are future talents of the country. So I think it's rather important for you to look into this perspective of the research. So let's see if there's any question from members of the floor. Yes, Dr. Lau.
Hi.
Yes.
So yeah, very interesting topic. I have two children at home. One growing up to be teenage, another one in primary school. Yeah, no longer preschool, but I experienced all this with them throughout the process, and especially during pandemic. My young one was in the preschool that time.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you talk about technology
Yes.
apply to preschool, so far, what are the most common technology that they embed or implant into their classes?
Okay.
So far, I mean,
Okay, back to your questions. Thank you, Dr. Lau, okay, for the questions. Okay, actually, it depends on the private kindy itself. They have their own, sometimes they will have their own apps. Okay, for example, okay, we have one. For example, one of the kindies, right? They will have their own apps, especially when it comes to the English, English subject. Instead of teaching, okay, A, B, C in the classroom conventionally, okay, they will change and use the games or the apps as a part of the teaching tools. So there will some sort of apps, or even they have their own. Those days we use CDs as a part of, to what is that, to teach the kids and to use in the classroom, right? But nowadays no more. Okay, because most of the school they already have their own iPads or tablet, and even they have PCs. So they will have a time where they will have one of the subject which is technology, okay, to be integrated in their lesson. And this is the way how do this teacher integrates in terms of to teach the kids regarding the regarding the technological.
okay, so I would say it's more on the preschool initiative,
Yes,
right? Rather
because-
than the teachers
Yeah,
initiative.
basically this is referring to the private kindergarten. It's two different things, which is, if let's say it's a government preschool, it's different. But when it comes to kindies, it's basically depends on their budget and so on. Okay, sure.
Hello, Hadri here.
Yes.
So my question is that I would believe that international preschool have championed this maybe 2 to 3 years ago. I would believe that, and we can see that the private sectors have tried to pick this up, right? So my question is, do you see any challenge that need to highlight, especially in the government preschools? Because I would believe that other than technology adoptions, I would believe that they have some other challenges, maybe like support, finance, or maybe the competency of their teachers and whatnot. Because at the end of the day, a country is being made by a lot of people, so we don't want to left behind some other future generations. Yeah, that's my question.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Okay, actually, my topic is more focusing on the what is that private kindergarten, which is I'm not really focusing on the preschool or government kindies. But by the way, to answer your questions, it's very good questions. Yeah, in terms of the supports and in terms of the when it comes to the integrations of technology in especially in government school, we really need a budget which is in terms of the financial, and the second one we really need in terms of the time consuming, because for kindies, non-private kindies, okay, the ratio of teachers and children is 1 to 15. Whereas for preschool, government preschool, Malaysian government preschool, the ratio is 1 to 25. So it's quite, it's not really in terms of for the government preschool, it's quite challenging for the teachers, especially for the teachers, because they need to, to manage in terms of everything. Okay, so and especially for the government preschool, we do have the, in terms of the a lots of program, the sponsors here and there, but as I mentioned, it's back to the teachers. How do she able to integrate, or how do she manage in terms of the what is that, in terms of the budget and so on? Because when it comes to the budget, the preschool itself, the teacher itself need to come up with her own budget. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. From childcare, let's move our attention to financial success, which is the second last paper of the day. So participants, let's just hold on for a little bit more for the second last paper presented by Dr. Anbar, Dr. Ngo Mefa, and also Dr. Kan Wen Hui presenting to you financial success, exploring the relationship. Thank you very much. Sure, yeah.
Good evening to everyone. I'm Ngomefa, a TBA student from Wawasan Open University under the supervision of Associate Professor Dr. Ambarakan Krishnan. My presentation topic today is sustainable practices, disclosure, and financial success, exploring the relationship. Introduction. The history of and evolution of ESG. The term of environmental, social, and governance and sustainability investment often used interchangeably, especially when it comes to benchmarking and disclosure data. However, ESG encompasses much more than that. For example, health and safety in 1980s, sustainability in 1990s, CSR in year 20 to 2010, and environmental, social, and governance in 2020. So the commencing of ESG and ESG strategy. ESG initiative was originally created in year 2005 by United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan in profound study titled Who Can Win. This refers to an array of important guidelines for ESG factor that shift the important non-financial investment analysis for investor and other stakeholders of all classes capital market. Accordingly, it becomes the first sustainability scoring concept for ESG characteristic adopted by United Nations Principle Responsible for Investing (UNPRI) and launched by Sustainable Stock Exchange Initiative (SSEI). Since then, numerous ESG regulations, standards, and frameworks led by group of 5 standard setting organizations. This shift included changes to ESG policy and standard to more efficient, transparent, harmony, and sustainable practices. So more investors are accounting for ESG initiative. The adoption of ESG criteria has grown from niche to the mainstream of investment and become investment megatrend. In year 2021, PRI has worked with more than 4,000 signatories in over 60 countries and managing more than $100 trillion of assets under management. As this initiative has increased the awareness of investors concerned about the materiality, transparency, and regulation, which could greatly impact the company's long-term financial performance. So why do we need ESG? According to Bank of America, failure in ESG can be costly. The negative externalities can reduce the trust, loyalty, and reputation that stakeholders place in the company. The high-profile ESG-related controversy wiped out more than $500 billion. One of the best ways to mitigate negative externality is through government policy too, such as regulatory, taxonomy, and subsidy. Yet these policies are strong in theory, ambitious in practices. The high profile of ESG-related incident-driven investor demand from transparency and regulator and requested ESG to be recognized in fiduciary duty as well. So institution, investor, and ESG. As a result, investor demand from high-quality ESG disclosure standard increased drastically. A recent report by OECD 2019 showed that institutional money manager control more than 40% of public equity capitalization worldwide in year 2017. In addition, risk and return profile of investment resulting in large-scale capital reallocation within new ESG investment approaches. Thus, ESG rating and indexes become an important tool to integrate ESG benchmark into their business to reduce risk and sustain risk. Meanwhile, ESG metric can help investors to pick up stock in responsible way and able to spot the next controversy. The growth of sustainable investment under asset manager. A recent statistic from Global Sustainable Investment Review 2020 reported that there are $35.3 billion of professionally managed assets at the start of 2020 were considered ESG criteria in their investment process and decision making, compared to $30.6 billion in 2018 and $22.8 billion in 2016. This means that in 2020, $1 of every $2.8 invested by institutional investor, money manager, and community investing financial institution in the 5 major markets was under the ESG investment strategy. There are 15% increase from 2018 to 2020 and 55% increase from 2016 to 2020, while the total assets under management has grown to $98.4 billion, make up of 35.9% assets under management. So ESG reporting standard and disclosure. After the appearance of COVID-19 pandemic, global institutional investors increasingly call for disclose and address ESG risks. In response to this, the government and regulator have also made enhancement to ESG reporting standard and regulation to increase the investment attractiveness. Despite the progress being made in the region of Europe, US, and Asia to mandate increase and standardize ESG disclosure, while the path to standardization globally can be long. As a result, there are still considerable gaps in the taxonomy and regulation that limit comparative analysis. There are several countries in Asia Pacific that have developed their own green taxonomy, such as an own green taxonomy that adhere to the local regulation, such as China, Singapore, Malaysia, and Mongolia. In addition, most of this taxonomy also differ from Europe and international standard. Therefore, various global investors are called for one Earth balance sheet. Outlook, ESG outlook in Malaysia. Bursa Malaysia had enforcing the ESG agenda required all public listed companies to mandatorily include ESG statement in their annual report by 2018. FTSE for Good Index is the gold standard and index representing companies that demonstrate strong ESG practices in Malaysia with 98 constitution. In 2019, Bank Negara Malaysia and Security Commissioner Malaysia established a joint committee on climate change to push climate resilience within the Malaysia financial sector to assist the transition toward low carbon economy. In fact, EPF, the largest pension fund of Malaysia, has launched its ESG investment policy in February 2021 to fully ESG compliance and climate neutral portfolio with net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2030. Next, HSBC, Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank, Maybank and CIMB Bank have commitment not to fund coal project in near future. So issue in ESG. First, lack of ecosystem collaboration, ESG disclosure issue. Processes are lacking coherence and inconsistent between various ESG ecosystem stakeholders. Number two, a plethora of ESG disclosure framework and standard had led to confusion and inconsistent disclosure in the market. Differences in methodology are resulting in differences in scoring and interpretation. Third, companies have no awareness to follow an appropriate reporting standard and prepare within themselves to accurately capture and report the disclosure. Fourth, different ESG rating for same company by different ESG rating provider will cause varying score as each rating firm has their own proprietary methodology for scoring. Their parameter and bias are based on both perception and against the sustainability indicator. 5. The authenticity of data is essential before reporting, while the authenticity of company data is prerequisite for accuracy. Lack of auditing result in greenwashing and maybe illegal. Number
Okay,
6.
so thank you for your presentation. I think the time is almost up. So you can just wrap up like what you would like to share with us. You can do a little bit of wrap up.
Actually, this research contributes to the SDG 8, which is decent work and economic growth. The research provide finding on the sustainable business practices in Malaysia, focusing on SDG criteria on global goals such as environment criteria, focus on company impact on the planet, and the governance criteria such as company leadership, ethnic, and transparency. That's all.
Interesting. Yep. So I like how you introduced to us what is ESG. Very interesting term. And also you provided a very clear example of how ESG is linked to Enron and some of the biggest scandals, yeah, in the financial world. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, I'm looking at some of our participants over here. Let's see if their faces have anything to ask about ESG.
I hope so. No.
Okay, so no questions, and we will move to the final paper now. And yeah, let's get our momentum very hyped up. All right, so this is the last paper over here, and let's welcome Dr. Erna. Yeah, so let's move on to open and distance learning in higher education, bibliometric analysis within the psychology field in the Scopus database using R. Welcome, Dr. Erna.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Rachel. Right, Assalamualaikum and good evening. I bid to one and all. My name is Erna Nadira Kamalulil. I am from School of Education, Humanities and Social Sciences, Wawasan Open University. I'm going to present a bibliometric paper entitled Open and Distance Learning, ODL, in Higher Education, Bibliometric Analysis within the Psychology field in the Scopus database using R. Right. The rise of open and distance learning education has surely reshaped our education system, and it aligns with the COVID-19 outbreak, which I'm going to share the data as well later on. And however, we need to bear in mind, and also there is a critical need that we need to take into consideration, need to take into account in terms of psychological impact of ODL, both ODL students and also instructors, right? So recent data, as you can see the figure here regarding the mental health level among ODL students in Malaysia, it's from a student's perspective, right? But this one is from Malaysia context, right? Recent data for both Malaysia and both national and also international context shows that there is varying levels of stress, anxiety, depression, and other related mental health issues as well, which impacted the ODL students and also instructors, right? But here I only show the figure from ODL students. As we can see over here, the ODL students in Malaysia, more than 50% of them reported they have a mild, moderate, severe, and extremely severe level of stress and anxiety. In addition, surprisingly, over there, almost 30%. Sangat merisaukan, yeah, it's quite worrying as well. Almost 30% of the ODL students has is suffered from depression, focusing on ODL, all right? So, this not research, mine is a bibliometric paper, aims to explore the open and distance learning in higher education, right? In psychology field, right? In psychology field, which are focusing on human behavior and mental processes. There are 5 key research questions that we're going to address here, that inclusive of what is the publication growth of ODL research, what countries had contributed the most in ODL publications, what are the most influential journals, and which popular ODL research studies, or this one focusing on the articles, and the 5th one, who are the top contributors of authors in ODL research. This bibliometric analysis utilized or employed the BiblioShiny application on RStudio Cloud, where the primary data source is corpus database only, right? Which Web of Science is not employed, only corpus database. Here is the precise search strategy where the keyword over here is ODL and also higher education. Meanwhile, the inclusion exclusion criteria over here is there are Boolean operators and wildcards have been used over here, and there are 3 criteria involved, inclusive of the documents relating to ODL in higher education in a psychology field only limited to psychology field, right? This one only limited, the subject area limited to psychology field, limited to articles document type. Non-articles is not included in this analysis. And final publication stage is included. Other than that is not included. So here is the flow chart of retrieving the relevant documents of ODL in higher education. Initial search from Scopus database. The articles retrieved originally is 1788 articles. After the inclusion criteria have been included, then the total number of articles included in the bibliometric analysis from the Scopus database is 85 articles. So here is the main information where we obtain from the RStudio, where the time span of the ODL research starts from year 2000 up till year 2023. Here's the publication growth. As we can see here, starting year 2020, it starts to rise up till 2022. Right, this aligned with the COVID-19, the global response of COVID-19 outbreak, where majority of the educational institutions all around the world face the shifting, the transformations, the closures, right, the disruptions. But however, we need to acknowledge that there are lots of institutions also it's like a wake-up call for us to transform or shift from conventional approach to ODL. Could be in a moment only, or could be a continuous change for that particular institution. So this lead to the scholarly interest or research output in ODL in higher education research. China, Germany, United States are the top 3 most contributing countries. This might be due to their technological advancements and also in terms of their research infrastructures. As we know, these 3 countries are considered as the developed nations. Meanwhile, as we can see there, South Africa is the developing countries like ours. Next is the most influential journals as Frontiers in Psychology with the total number of documents or articles 22 with the H index of 7, signifying that Frontiers in Psychology, for information, Frontiers in Psychology is a multidisciplinary journal, which is a significant high impact journal, and which offers lots of various and diverse coverage of psychology field. Apart from that, the research question 4 to answer what is the most influential, this one not journals, most influential articles, Bates and Kasaunen in year 2000, where this is the initial, the first publication ever in ODL higher education, focusing in psychology field, where we can see that the research is focusing on self-efficacy, and up till now it has been cited, right? Where the total citations is 178, and this signifies that a self-efficacy or in a simpler terms is the one's belief whether they are able to complete a task or vice versa. And lastly, in terms of the most contributing authors in year 2021, from Journal Frontiers in Psychology with a total citations 56, which this signifies their research. She and the colleagues' research is significant within the ODL, open and distance learning in higher education context. Yeah, in conclusion, these bibliometric analysis serve as a baseline to discover the pattern of open and distance learning in higher education research, where the suggestions or the recommendations from this study itself is more funding, more funds to be given to especially in the least developed countries, in order to disseminate the ODL research in higher education findings. And by advocating the additional financial support, both researchers, policymakers or any other related parties will be able, or they can contribute significantly to the sustainable development goal 4, ensuring which are focusing on the inclusive and also equitable quality education on a global scale. Right, that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the insightful presentation, rich of knowledge in mental health, an expert over here.
Thank you, Doctor.
So, participants, I think our mental health will improve significantly if we have just one question from Kersing. Thank you very much. You're welcome. No problem.
Oh yeah, the first slide about the percentage. Oh yeah, this one. So may I ask where all this data come from? I mean,
this is from a research from Malaysia context. I'm really sorry, please accept my apology because I did not include the citation over here. Yeah, so it's a Malaysia research study. It's empirical evidence, and for your information, it's very limited. A lot of research have been done relating to mental health issues, students, adult learners, a lot from young age up till our age or our mommy daddy, our mommy daddy's age. But focusing on ODL students very rare. Is very rare. In fact, if based on the bibliometric analysis itself, there's none from Malaysia. So it will be very valuable, very beneficial if the researchers can contribute in terms of obtaining the empirical evidence on this particular issue.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the reason why I asked this question is because it is my first time to find some data can clearly distinguish from stress, anxiety, depression in mental health research. Because always people cannot say I have anxiety but not depression, and someone said I'm depressed but I'm not anxious, because sometimes patients cannot distinguish between anxiety and depression. So that's one thing I just want to ask. Is there any reason why they choose anxiety, not depression, something like that?
No, for your information, this one is based on the so-called instrument depression, anxiety, and stress scale. 21 items. Maybe I could share to you later on this paper and the instrument that has been used as well, which based on that scale or instrument does 21 items instrument, 7, 7, 7, 7 stress, 7 anxiety, 7 depression. So the particular respondents will surely respond to each and every single items, and let's say for each dimensions, let's say stress, so they will be able to know whether they are in a normal state of stress or mild, moderate, severe, or extremely severe. And the same goes to the other dimensions as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, interesting. So with that question, with that answered, I think I would like to close this session now. Fret not, you still can mingle around with each other and ask questions and connect with the activity that we have planned for you shortly, which is our dinner. So yeah, before that, I think you can still mingle around, and we'll see each other again in the next 2 days activities. Thank you very much
Thank you,
for your
Rachel and all.
participation today.
Okay, by the way, thanks everyone for attending the conference today. So we will have the gala dinner ready at the Black Cattle Cafe, which is just very nearby to our campus. Just I think 5 minutes walks down the road, you will see the cafe. The gala dinner will be ready at 6 p.m. 所以我们会有今天的晚宴在 Black Cattle Cafe，会在6点钟开始。假如你们想要回酒店打理一下也可以，或者你们要现在走过去也可以，还是你们那边休息一下，等会有台过去也可以。所以我们晚上在6点钟开始。